The date today is July 20th, 2017. Time is 6:33 p.m. David Champy II.
Present.
Rob Collins.
Here.
Geary Ciccarone. Ed Comeau.
Here.
Stephen Bailey.
Here.
Bill Zadie. Rick Charette.
Present.
Dianne Smith.
Present.
Tim Strauss. So only one regular member is absent. So,
Bill did notify me that he would be here tonight. Diane, would you mind sitting in on the board tonight?
Fine.
Thank you. Any public comments? Announcements and corresponding mail. We have a copy of Convene, which will be in the common area. So tonight we have a public hearing scheduled. It's the George McKillop subdivision application. And I'll read the procedures for public hearing. So it says the hearing related to the review of subdivision site plans and boundary line adjustments. Procedure for the application and public notice are given in the regulations for each type of review as well as in the application form. The order of business shall be as follows. The chair shall call the hearing to order. George, if you can call the hearing to order and note the time, please.
it's 6:35 p.m.
If anyone would like to address the board, please complete the sign-in sheet with the secretary. And George has the sign-in sheet over here. The chair shall explain the hearing procedure and state the rules of conduct. 1, address all questions and comments to the chair. Parties will not address each other directly. 2, identify yourself and your address before you speak. 3, do not engage in side conversations. So the public notice was posted on the town website. I believe there's a copy left here in the common area and also on the boards, one outside here and one at the end of Stone Road. So the public hearing, notice of public hearing will be held at the Brookfield Town Office. Town Office Building, 267 Wentworth Rd, Brookfield, New Hampshire, on July 20th, 2017 at 6:30 p.m. on the application of Alan, George, and Mary McKillop for approval of the subdivision of property located at 81 Garney Road affecting tax map 6, lot 1B. The application will be reviewed for completeness at the planning board meeting on July 20th, 2017. Upon finding by the board that the application meets the subdivision requirements of the subdivision regulation, and if the board votes to accept the application as complete, a public hearing on the merits of this proposal will follow immediately. Should the decision to approve or reject the subdivision not be reached at the public hearing, the hearing may be continued to a subsequent planning board meeting on the third Thursday of every month at the Brookfield Town Office at 6:30 p.m. And this application will stay on the planning board agenda until such time as it is either approved or disapproved. Anyone needing assistance to attend this meeting or further information should contact the planning board administrative assistant at 522-3688. The application is available for inspection at the Brookfield Town Office and the planning board room. The town offices are open Monday from 11 a.m. till 6 p.m., Tuesday 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., Wednesday 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., Thursday 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., Friday 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. For additional available times, please contact the planning board chair or administrative assistant by calling 522-3688. So next part of the hearing is the board shall review the application with a list of application submittal requirements specified by the application regulation to see if it's complete. Official acceptance or rejection shall be by a motion and a vote. If rejected, the board shall identify the deficiencies in writing and forward to the applicant with a copy of the draft minutes. The letter shall include a detailed description of all the conditions necessary for consideration to seek final approval. So we all have a copy of the application. Can we have the person to speak to the application?
My name is Ray Bissell from Stonewall City. Do you want me to sign in, or is that the board?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we assume you're the authorized agent to speak
Yes.
on his behalf. Thank you.
This is the Mylar and the copy, so updated with mine, which was that. I just don't want to get damaged. Just turn this a little more. I'm here representing Alan and Mary on their own, basically it's a 55.9 acre piece of property. And their current house sits on that. What they want to do is they want to sell this 5 acres off from the entire piece. What we did,
I'm sorry, their colors, what are the color?
the blue is the exterior boundary,
Okay.
and we'll kind of, I'm going to talk about the exterior in just a minute. But the blue is what they currently own by a survey that was done. This is back in 2009. The red is the area of the proposed 5 acre lot. This is the actual lot itself. So currently, right now, there's a house, septic system, and well on the property. There is a driveway coming in this way, and there's a driveway coming in this way. This driveway is going to be being blocked, so that way, this house, this driveway is only going to be here. This entrance will remain for the remainder piece. Wetlands were all done out here, topography was done, doing the calculations for the slope calculations that you guys have. It's a relatively basic subdivision, and we are asking for waivers pertaining to mainly the remainder parcel. There's enough suitable soil easily for another dwelling house anywhere up here on the road. Easily can just support another dwelling, at least one, if not more. So what we're asking is, instead of doing topography and wetlands and test pits and proposed well and everything on the remainder parcel, we're asking for waivers on those. And those are Article 6, Items 7, 16, 17, 18, and 20. Again, it's relatively straightforward, so if you have any questions, we'd like to answer them.
What was the total acreage?
55.9. So the remainder parcel will still be over 50 acres.
And it will still have the road frontage. Can you go back to
Yes.
the original map there?
Yeah, actually, it would have a total of, the lot itself is going to have a total of 922 feet of road frontage remaining. That's this and this combined.
How large is the piece closest to you, the frontage?
This?
Yeah.
So that's 161, and then
Gotta have to go.
about 300?
There's enough size to 250.
Oh, 250.
255 or something like that.
So it's around 250 over here plus.
Is it more than 250?
Over here?
It is.
Yeah. But they have, from here to here, it's 500 and...
Yeah, it's
672.
probably not relevant to this application, but if there's another, if there's enough road frontage over there to support
Yes.
another lot.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this lot itself would probably support many more lots.
Well, if we, build roads,
Right.
but a couple more, okay.
Are there any further questions from the board, for him?
Well, maybe as we go through the application, more might come up, but I'm okay for now.
Okay.
So you want to go through the application?
Yeah, I think we should go through the application and ask for any details when we have questions that arise.
Okay, so page one looks good to me, signed. Or that's the only thing that needs to be done on page one?
Yep.
Okay, page two. George, for each of these items, can you confirm that you received each of these, or can we confirm these? So 10 copies,
Yes, yes, and they're all,
this is what we're looking at?
Yes.
Okay. And the 4 plats, are those in?
Yes, there's the Mylar 4 in there.
Okay. 11 by 17 drawing? Or a copy of the plat?
Is it in here?
There was, in the original application, there was, and there was, might be a thing pulled up in there, because those were the original struck off.
But is that going to be different than this?
The only thing that's different is the monuments are now stated what was set, and there was the 2 house heights, the square footage were added to it.
Okay, so we don't have an 11 by 17 copy of the plat that you're applying here with the application.
I think this is it.
That's the only reason.
But this is old, is that right?
Well, the last time I talked to George, last time we said I was only needing to bring the 4 Mylar and 4 copies. So I didn't bring.
How hard would it be to produce?
Well, I can get you one, that's not a problem.
So
Yeah.
I'm okay with moving forward with that.
Yeah.
But I think it should be part of a condition if we, assuming we do approve it, that
I can
The packet, yeah.
mail you guys a copy.
unless somebody
I'll
wants
send it out
to
tomorrow.
put off until we get that, but I mean,
I agree. Yeah, if you could send us a copy of that.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Application fees.
George, did you get the check for the fees?
I did, and here's a copy of that check, and I have also submitted it to the treasurer.
we're eating that. Page 5 has the schedule, so we'll look at that one. Mylar. The address labels for butter notification, I assume we got those and sent those out,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yep. Do we get responses back from all the abutters?
From everyone except for one abutter, it was mailed to the right address, double checked on that, and the post office has here unclaimed, and they tried 3 times.
Okay. So we're good for page 2?
Yep. Page 3.
Okay, so narrative attached. So I think the narrative is good. I think everything else on this page is filled out. Does anyone see any problems? So page 3 is good. So item number 6, proposed number of lots, 1. I would have expected 2 to be there, but I'm not really sure what the question's asking. The number of new lots or, probably are okay either way. I think that it's pretty clear what's being done. But
Well, it's currently one lot now. By subdividing a single lot from that one lot, so I think one should be sufficient.
So on item number 7, current use tax, could you tell us which areas are in current use right now?
Oh,
The 55 acres is in current use. So the new lot is
That'll be
being-
coming out of
it'll be
current.
coming out, okay. So you note the 2 acres around the house are coming out of current use, which is fine. Just, I believe that, somebody will correct me if I'm wrong probably, but when you sell the 5 acres, assuming you do, the other 3 acres will need
Right.
to come out of current use at that time.
right.
Okay. So you need a minimum of 10.
We've already paid the current use penalty for the existing house and the area that we're using. And when we sell it, they'll have to pay an additional.
Okay, so it's not all in current use. There are 2 or so acres.
It's all in current.
2 acres is actually
Oh, I'm
removed.
sorry, we'll
Right.
price it up.
2 acres is removed currently, so 53.9 is.
Okay, so as part of doing the subdivision, that's not, nothing's coming out of current use as part of the subdivision. But when you sell, the other 3 acres.
Correct. Right.
Okay. Okay, so for number 8, I noticed that we have a waiver letter. So for number 9, it looks like I don't see anything filled out for number 9, which was asking for additional professionals who are authorized to submit materials. Is that because there are none? Is that the reason it's blank?
Well, the only other one that would be on there who was notified is on the plan is the soil scientist at Stony Ridge Environmental. And that was included on the mailing label.
Where, can you point out where on the plat that is?
That's her notes and that's her stamp.
Okay. So name,
Some
mailing address, telephone numbers, voice and fax are both there. So I think that if I read the application properly, under number 9, you probably should have listed that there as well, not all the notes and everything else, but just who else was involved, but I think. But I think, I mean,
We include that in a different piece of paper or just on this here.
It's supposed to be or not.
yeah, I think it should be in the blank spot under 9 or attached.
Can you actually read that?
I can. Stony Ridge Environmental LLC, 229 Prospect Mountain Road, Alton, New Hampshire, 03809. So, and phone number and fax number and email address, so. So do we want to just be okay with that, or do we want to have a condition that provide us a letter?
It is listed right here too.
Okay, so where is that?
That's under the butters list, has owner and professionals,
Okay, so.
all the
Yep.
information right here.
It is here.
Okay, so it's in the packet?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Can we just put C attached? Exhibit or something?
Yep. So I'm okay with it, if the information is there. Whichever copy of this gets filed, we probably should just have a note there written on it.
This is the original. Somebody's gonna put it on here.
It's page 4. Somebody who has neater writing than I do.
I guess I can
Can
do
you
it.
do, George?
Okay, so I don't see any problems on page 4, then. We're good? Okay, page 5 is the application fee schedule. So under subdivision of land, the 1 is the 1 new lot, that we charge a 50 a lot. So the notification fee and reporting fee are backwards. But the total's right. So the copy that I've got does not have the applicant's signature on it. It just doesn't have a date. Is it? Okay.
What about the files and date on the top?
File number, date. Okay. Do we want to put a notation that these go to surveyors?
I think anyone who looks at it will figure that out quickly, it's pretty obvious. So I think I'm good with that. Anyone else see any problems there that we need to? No. So page 6 is blank. I think that's good. Right, agreed. So if you just sign on the original, and dated.
That looks good.
Okay, it does not have the assessor clerk signature.
I have a separate document. I sent a separate piece of paper so that I don't want to get a chance to use it.
Yep, that's good. So where's the one supposed to go? Just-
What are you looking for?
The see attached sheet for the,
Next page.
right, thank you. I'm looking at the back. Okay. So you paid for 12 notifications, if I recall?
That's correct.
Yes.
So we've got 9 abutters listed. Who are the other 3? That got,
Two professionals and the owner.
okay. Very good. So everyone on this page got a butter notification?
Yeah.
Okay. The original is signed and dated. Everyone okay with page 8?
Yes.
On the original, the date submitted is filled in.
Step by step down.
Why not take? So number 1, does everyone feel like that's addressed properly?
Yes.
2. we've got a seal for certified wetland scientist.
That's a soil scientist.
Should I open this one up so we can?
That's also.
This is what we should work.
I'm sorry.
So we have two on there, right?
Arrow scale written, is everybody okay with two?
Yes.
Number 3, North Arrow scale, written and graphic, date of plan.
Scales here.
Updated plan here.
Okay.
North Arrow. We're okay with 3?
Yes.
Number 4, town tax map and lot numbers.
It's on the bottom here. Tax map 6, lot 1.
Everybody okay with 4?
Yes.
Number 5, sheet size of paper copies 22 inches by 34 inches or a specified, or as specified by Carroll County Register of Deeds, suitable for electronic scanning, prepared according to the standards of the New Hampshire Land Surveys Association's account, Carroll County Registry of Deeds. All plats shall have a minimum of 1.5 inch margin on all sides.
Half inch. One and a half.
And I believe we had talked about the size on the proposal for this because the Carroll County records determines the size, so that's acceptable.
Good with 5?
Yep.
Okay, number 6, plat shall be at a horizontal scale of not more than 100 feet to an inch.
Scale's 40 feet to an inch. That's good.
Okay, number 6 is good. Number 7, signature block for planning board endorsement in lower right-hand corner with 7 lines. Are you okay with 7?
Yep.
Number 8, locus plan showing general location of the total tract within the town and the zoning districts. Locus plan.
Do we have a locus?
Upper right-hand corner.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
It's too far away from us.
It says locus.
Good.
Good with 8.
Yep.
Number 9, vicinity map at scale of town's base map. Vicinities map.
That's on that lower left. We're on
The butters index.
Butters.
Yep. Good with that.
Are we okay
Well,
with
what's the scale, what's the scale of the town's base map, and what's the scale of that? Can you tell us, oh, I don't know what our town base.
Scale 1 inch equals 800 feet plus or minus. Is what this is.
Does anyone have any idea what our base map is?
Is this a base map?
I have no idea. When you
So
decided.
this is actually reduced, so it's 1 inch for 400. But that would make that twice as large on the plan. Here's the tax map. So
Does anyone know why we would ask for it to be the same scale as our base maps? I mean, I look at this and I think it's clear what's going on, but
Well, I would say the same scale, so, you know, the numbers are the same. I'm thinking too simple. The scale, you should, like, you don't,
well, scale would be, I mean, like he said, right, this is 800 feet, our tax maps are 1 inch is 400 feet, so these, you know, this would be twice as large, right, instead of being this long, it would be this, right?
I would think that the vicinity map has to be at the scale of the base map. And you're saying the base map is what?
1 inch is 400 feet.
And what's that?
1 inch is 800 feet.
Am I reading it wrong?
So you're saying what, I mean, it's
I'm
different,
saying-
right?
Yes,
And
that's how I'm reading it.
you're reading it as
Correct.
different, and so my question was, how important should, the way I'm reading it is that the plat doesn't meet that requirement. My question is, why do we have the requirement, so I can understand how important
Can I tell you what I think of it?
it's up to the chair.
Well, years ago, they explained it was, they just wanted to put a scale down on the map, they can scale it right out. It was the same as the tax map that they're in the town hall, they can just put the scale right out, they don't have to reduce anything. So there's no math, there's no, you understand what I'm saying?
Okay,
Just ease, I guess what you call it.
So I guess the question is, how do you as a surveyor, when you create these, how do you determine what scales to use for this?
I usually use something that's kind of a ratio of, but basically that's something that you can read where everything is. Usually these are kind of designed so that way you have an idea, because you can't see where all the butters are.
Right.
So it's a good idea, so that way you can see, okay, where's, so if, we'll just say, Mr. Kirby was to come in, and where is his lot? So you know, map 6, number 6, so you know, okay, he's over here. It's more of just an idea, there's no, I mean, there's nothing in here of any legal part except for the butters being shown. Again, to do it at the 800 scale, it would basically, now would require a separate sheet of paper, basically just to, you know, add that to it. And if you had a property that was 200 acres, well, then you're gonna have a sheet of paper that's basically just gonna be just a tax map. You know, that's,
I think that I would feel like we should accept the vicinity map as it's presented. I think that the size of the lot and the area that's shown is sufficient. It's, you know, I think it meets the spirit of what we're looking for. And I'm not, and you make very practical arguments about why you chose the size you did. And I think if these were 1 acre lots, you would have gone with.
absolutely. The larger you can make it, the better.
Right, so I think that given the scale of the lots, this works. That's one guy's opinion.
I agree with that.
I agree too, but just for the record, can we just, is there a way for us to basically account for this? Just so that it's clear, and then we'll address it later when we redo our, or clarify it for future applications. I'm just saying for the record, just
We
state
could-
that we're aware that.
We could ask George to put it on
Yeah.
the agenda for a future meeting.
Because I don't know what that means. I don't know why it says it like that.
George, could you put that on a future meeting for trying to understand why we're calling that out the way it is?
And I don't see how that, I don't think this would be something somebody's gonna challenge, but it's different from what our rules of procedure is, so.
Do you want a motion?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the subdivision plat requirement checklist number 9 as met by the plat.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, we're done with 9.
Motion carries.
Done with 9, we're going to 10.
Yes.
Names and addresses of all abutters and all holders of conservation, preservation, or agricultural preservation easements on plat or on a separate sheet.
So the butters are,
So they're here on the plan.
yep, or they're on the, across the street as well.
Diane?
Those are the abutters. Are there any other listings for the other categories?
There's
Holders of
no
conservation, preservation.
preservation, or agricultural preservation easement.
Thank you.
Not having counted everything and checked for duplicates, there are, your abutter list that was in the packet seems shorter than the abutters that are listed on,
Well, that's because,
The plat.
yeah, if you look at the, well, even actually right here, tax map 6 lots 1B, 1E, 7, 7A, 7B, and 8 are all owned by Alan, Ian, Mary.
right?
So, you know, over here, these are all the owners, so they only need to be notified once.
Right, so the abutter, so are all the abutters listed in the abutter index that's in the lower left?
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And add 2 professionals. 12.
Okay, so I just want to double check that everything's good, so good, I think. It's always good when the math adds up.
You good with 10?
Number 11, boundary survey including bearings, horizontal distances, and location of permanent markers. Curved boundary line shall show radius, delta, and length. See attached plan 224/51.
So in the application, I actually added this plan for reference. This is recorded at the registry for the perimeter boundary. But we're kind of concentrated on just this 5 acres.
Okay, so,
And there are bearings and distances all the way around this plan. So,
this plan has them as well, I would assume, right?
yes, yep, everything that's even on the road, and even going out this way, all the property lines have bearing distances on them.
I'm good with
Go to the 11.
that. 12?
Number 12, names of abutting subdivisions, streets, driveways, easements, building lines, parks, public spaces, notation of use of abutter land, and similar facts regarding abutting properties on the plat or on a separate sheet.
So the abutters are on the plan.
So I don't think we have any names abutting subdivisions or anything, right? So it's, the streets, Garney, I see Garney, driveways are shown.
There's one here, one there, and the next one was.
Are there any easements shown?
There's the electrical and TV easements.
Okay, and there are no other easements that you know?
Correct.
Building lines? That's the existing building,
Okay.
I think.
I'm sure if you're referring to setbacks.
Parks, public spaces, notation. So I'm sorry, on buildings, you noted the buildings that I see in a budding, right? Did you note all buildings that are,
Within
Showing.
within 200 feet.
okay, so across the street there aren't buildings?
No, it's far.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
I'm good with 12.
Okay, good with 12, going to 13. 13 is location of all property lines and their dimensions, lot areas in square feet and acres, lots numbered according to town tax map system, contact town assessor clerk for a lot number.
Did you contact,
Again, that's basically the perimeter map is one of the things we're asking a waiver for, is not doing the full boundary on this piece.
What was the date on the original perimeter?
2009?
and could you tell us who did the survey?
John Knight?
And his seals on there and everything?
Yep.
Awesome.
Lot
You have,
area.
I'm sorry, so you have I saw you had a letter in here, right? Related to the waivers?
Right.
Okay, so we are on C. Um,
C7?
But those are basically the way it's, the Article 6 and the numbers are per the subdivision regulation.
Right, okay. So this is the first of them, so location of all property lines and dimensions. Okay.
Any further questions regarding the intent of the request for waiver?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we waive requirement number 13 on the subdivision plat requirements checklist.
Second.
All in favor?
What,
Aye.
discussion?
Nope. Diane?
Sorry, this is first time. I don't do this very often, so I'm trying to keep up. I'm not sure if I should have brought this up under the previous issue or not. I just noticed on the attachment here that there's a reference to,
Which attachment?
well, it's not numbered. Let me just ask this question, if I may. This plan that this is based on was the 2009 plan,
Correct.
updated by the lot line adjustment to the Dugases in 2013, is that correct?
Correct, that you're referring to the one over here?
Yes.
Yes, that's
Okay,
kind of what this is showing here.
all right. I had done a little bit of checking on my own, and I had a different number for that lot line adjustment plan. But I guess I'll assume that you're correct, that it's 232-55.
No, it should be 232.73.
Okay, well, I had 232.005 when I looked it up. 73 was a subdivision plan on the east side of Garnet
Oh,
Road.
I'm sorry.
So this is the most recent change to, for the November 2013 boundary line adjustment.
Yeah, I don't actually have that referenced on my survey because it wasn't in the area over here. I was looking at the plan references. I didn't reference this plan because it wasn't in this vicinity. I don't know if I have a copy of that on me.
I don't know how important that is, David.
Yes, I don't think it's part of the subdivision.
Well,
It's existing lot.
okay. Existing lot.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
thank
if it was part of the new subdivision lot, then that's something I think we should.
But the only concern that I have is that that change never made it onto our tax maps. So that's, I think he's calling that out.
I have it listed as 232.55.
Okay, that's what you had indicated on your
That's what I have.
attachment. Okay, all right, we'll go with that. Thank you. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt the process.
No, that's an important part of the process. So just to summarize, do you think that the information that's on the plat and in the application is accurate? Or is there something that should be changed?
No, I think it's accurate.
Okay. You feel comfortable with that, Diane?
I think the lines look correct. It was just the reference that I was questioning, whether or not the reference in his packet for that particular boundary line adjustment. But it's a minor point. You're right, it doesn't affect this particular subdivision cutout. It's the larger lot.
Of the existing
Thank you.
boundary.
But as part of the motion to waive requirement for 13, the larger lot is what he's asking for waiver on, right? So, I mean, if you were asking for the waiver, then it would be relevant, right? So, but he is, so.
Thank you, Diane. Can you state the motion again?
Ask for George to read back.
George, you've got it.
Yes, Vice Chair Collins moved to waive requirements of the location of property lines as stated on page 9, number 13. Second one was Ed Comeau.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, number 14, location and the amount of frontage on public right-of-way.
$253.25. Good.
Good, everybody's good with 14? 15, location of building setback lines.
Good. Dash line right here. Yep. Create.
Okay, number 16, existing and/or proposed buildings and other structures.
Existing structures there is no proposed structure.
Correct. Existing house and a shed. There's a portable pop-up tent thing, but that's movable, so. There's the shed, okay.
Okay with 16?
Yep.
17, location of any existing or proposed easements, including utility easements and land to be dedicated to public use with the conditions of such dedication.
Utilities are here. Are there any public use easements on this property? I don't see any on the plat.
No.
Good.
Okay with 17. On to 18, existing and proposed water supplies and mains, culverts, drains, septic systems, or sewers, proposed connections or alternative means of providing water supply and sewage disposal.
Leach field and tank are here.
Yep.
Distribution boxes there.
Well, over here, there's a culvert, couple culverts here. There's a culvert over here. That's pretty much.
Yep. 19.
Number 19, existing and proposed streets with names, classification, grades, travel surface, and rights-of-way widths.
There are no proposed streets, et cetera.
It's an existing street.
No proposed streets, no.
Just the existing street, Martin Road.
And Note 7 talks about the narrow width of the road.
Okay with 19?
Yeah, there's one with those, so. Yep. 18 is good.
Number 20 is being annotated to be NA, which is final road profile, center line station, grades and elevations, cross sections, all elevations referring to U.S. coast and geodetic survey benchmarks.
Not applicable because they're not putting any roads in.
Number 21, location and width of existing and proposed driveways.
Location is there. And width.
But here is, there's a note kind of turning to the width of them.
Okay with that?
22.
22, location of all water courses, ponds, standing water, shorefront area, wetlands, existing and proposed foliage lines, rock ledges, stone walls, open space to be preserved, and any historic resources or man-made or natural resources.
The wetlands are identified.
I'm curious, this, where these culverts are, what's going on there?
That's it's a earth,
It's like a berm,
kind of, yes.
so it's like a walk, providing access,
Right.
dry access to the back part?
Correct.
Okay. But is that wooded, is it cleared? What's the condition?
This is all granite clear on top, and then this is kind of clear from pretty much the driveway. It's right on the top of the slope over to this woods road. Everything else is mostly in the woods.
So these slopes down to the wetlands are wooded?
It's a mix of rocks and small underbrush and lots of ticks.
Yeah, welcome to New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Worst side I've been on all year.
Good on 22?
I think so.
Yeah, man-made ponds, wetlands, stone walls, so on.
Okay, we have a waiver on 23, which is existing and proposed topographic contours based on USGS topographic data with spot elevations where necessary, depiction of steep slopes.
So look at that original map as well.
Yeah. If I can kind of just address that 23, 24, 25, those are all mainly pertaining to the entire parcel. I mean, we have all the topography, everything shown for the proposed lot itself.
Can you speak to, did you go out on the larger parcel at all?
I did not go all the way back here
But you,
because it wasn't relevant.
but like near the road, there's, it's.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Are there any wetlands there, or is it just partial, like most of?
I didn't notice any wetlands right adjacent to the road itself. I mean, it's, this wetland here kind of stops, kind of wraps, it's just like a little tiny finger. This is gonna come down, and I believe this is gonna wrap into here eventually. But no, this is all nice. This is actually an open kind of field right in here. And then it gets back into the woods a little bit farther on. But I didn't see any signs of any wetlands up near the road. And from looking at the Google Earth, I could tell from looking at that, there's probably some wetlands. There's probably more wetlands down in here. From looking at the Google Earth images.
So the intent of this requirement is to ensure that there's enough buildable land with the soil conditions that are required.
Right. And there's, again, this house, these are two house lots. From there, I mean, basically the conditions are the same. So it starts to drop off, you know, so that's when you're gonna get back into the wetlands. Up in here, there shouldn't be any issues. I mean, just here itself by this field would be a perfect place to build another house.
Can I have a motion to accept the waiver? Is there any further questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we waive the requirement for item 23 on the subdivision plat requirement checklist.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, who's the second?
Oh, I thought you were second.
I'll second.
Ed,
Thank you.
thank you. Motion carries.
We waived 23, we're on to 24.
24.
Soil and wetlands delineation. Waiver.
So,
That's the same reason.
so it's indicated in the area of the new lot, but not the rest of it.
Correct.
So, Mr. Chairman, I move that we waive item number 24 on the subdivision plat requirements checklist.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Number 25 is also a waiver. It's location of percolation test and test results, certification of town official witnessing the test, and outline of 4,000 square foot septic area with any applicable septic setback lines. And there's a note here, existing septic system in place. See attached copy.
That should be here in the last page.
Do you have a more legible copy? By any chance? I don't know if the original is right here. If there's a-
No, that's all I have is just the.
Copy of a copy of a copy.
The intent is there. You know, there's a septic that's there as well.
It's dated 2007.
Is that filed with the state?
There was a,
Presumably when the septic was put in,
I did have the. They do have the proposed design of the state. Just trying to find where I have that number written down.
I have the approved.
Yes, they have the approved plan of the state.
so Mr. Chairman, I'm assuming that this, the septic was properly built, meaning going through all the, jumping through hoops. I don't have a concern about the existing septic. And so I think that what we're being asked to waive on 25 is perk testing, et cetera, on the larger lot.
Yeah, no, it's right on this copy, right in here, where it's talking about the approved number right here. Fortunately, I don't have a full size copy.
Yeah, the numbers are.
Do you have a motion, do we have a motion yet for 25?
We do not.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we waive the requirements for item number 25 of the subdivision plat requirement checklist with respect to the larger lot.
Second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 26, location of existing and proposed wells with 75-foot radius on its own lot.
So the well is defined.
And its radius does stay in the lot. Normally, wouldn't we normally, well, is there the restriction on where you put wells on the other lot?
But generally, the rule of thumb is that as long as the setback doesn't impede more than onto an abutting parcel, it can actually overlap by state regulations. But there's plenty of room to put a well on the remainder parcel with 75 foot. They could put it right smack in the middle here if they wanted to.
Are there, in general, aside from setbacks and things like that, are there, on undeveloped land, are there restrictions on where a well can be placed?
No, that's right.
You can drill anywhere. Is that
Right. As long as you can get the rig to it. And the only other regulation is going to be basically where your septic's going to go.
Okay.
Okay, go to 26. You want 27?
Okay, number 27, base flood elevations and flood hazard areas based on available FEMA maps. Base flood elevations.
Is that number 6 on the plan?
So it's not in a hazard, it's not in a hazard area.
Right.
FEMA doesn't actually say anymore that it's not. It's 0.2% chance.
I'm okay with 27.
Yeah, so 27 looks good.
Okay, so 28 through 36 are not checked. Other information where applicable. So 28 plans for stormwater management and erosion and sediment control. I assume you're saying that's not applicable. Is that
Correct.
Yeah.
For this type of subdivision.
I think I would agree with that.
Yes, I agree with that.
Mr. Chairman, it doesn't have to say NA or anything, right?
Well, yeah, it's in where applicable.
It says where applicable,
I think
it's
it's
subject.
Grading and drainage plans, no grading is planned, right? So, 29, I'm okay with. 30, copy of state subdivision approval for septic system, septic design approval or certification by septic designer of adequacy of existing system.
They're not putting the septic on the remaining property.
Not right now, no.
There's already an existing septic on what they're proposing to subdivide off, so.
Right,
It doesn't-
copy of state subdivision approval for septic system, is that, what is that last page?
Yeah.
That's the plan?
Well, that's the septic. This doesn't require state approval because it's 5 acres or more. Anything that's less than 5 acres, you have to have subdivision approval.
Okay. Okay, so I think we're okay for 30, is that right?
Yes.
31, alteration of terrain permit from New Hampshire DES.
Not altering any of the terrain.
Something okay. Town or state's driveway permit, not putting any new driveways, right? At this time. Copy of any deed restrictions and all deeds covering land to be used for public purposes, easements and right-of-way over property to remain in private ownership and rights of drainage across private property submitted in a form satisfactory to Brookfield Town Council.
Doesn't apply.
Are there no deed restrictions?
Nope.
Easements.
Basically, it would just be
Just the easements that we saw? Okay. 34, any other federal or state permits? There are none, right? 35, preliminary design of bridges, culverts that may be required. None required, is that?
correct.
Any additional reports or studies deemed necessary by the planning board? I think we're okay for that right now.
Yep.
Okay, additional items. Okay, and signed and dated. Plan checklist.
So we have the Mylar, we have 4 paper copies.
So do we want to go through this plan checklist? I mean, it looks redundant to,
It does.
but I bet there's some differences. So you want to go through these or not?
I would say no, because it does look redundant. The subdivision plat requirement checklist that you provided that we just went through, Where did you get these requirements? Did you get them from our,
Yes.
because that's what I just noticed in some of the wording looks identical.
Yeah, that checklist is from us.
Yes,
Is that what you're asking?
yes.
Yeah, page 9 and 10 are ours, part of our application.
So once you're done. We all agree with that?
They're not exactly the same. I don't think. Like item number 4, adequate space on the plat for recording the registry plan number and recording information. I don't seem to recall having seen that in the other.
No, and that's actually, if you go to the Dianne County website, look at the plan requirements, they require it to be in the upper left-hand corner and a different dimension.
Okay, you said Belknap County, with Carroll County?
I'm sorry.
It's
Carroll.
okay.
Carroll County, I
Okay.
was working on a project today in Belknap County.
Just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
Carroll County.
Yeah. They want the 11.
Right. So the plan is done per their guidelines.
So George, if you've got a place where you're noting things that we should talk about, that would be another, and just probably the general topic of why do we have 2 checklists?
And it might be best to get an update from Carroll County to make sure that our final plan requirements meet. Because we also discovered that the size of the plat was different than what Carroll County requires, so.
Where's number 6 on 19? The statement.
It's note number 11, I think.
Yep.
So we are finding some that weren't addressed earlier.
So let's go through it, just to make sure we have everything covered.
Okay, item number 1, this should be plat, it should be big. I think we're good with that. Item 2, margins, we're good with that. Although I think this bottom margin's a little small. Is that a half inch? Anyway, it's close enough. Title block, lower right-hand corner.
Yep.
Type of survey, owner of record, title of plat, tax map number, name of the town, plat and revision dates. It's all there.
Subdivision. Yes.
Okay, number 4, it's in the upper left, as we just discussed. 5, signature block, we checked that before.
Yep. Following statement for 6 is actually no 11 on the drawing.
So number 7, certification that the applicant is agent for the owner or is the owner of the land or that the owner has given consent under an option agreement. Is that listed anywhere? That you're,
It should be in one of the.
Page 3, name of applicant or agent.
okay, good.
Yes, it is.
Number 8, certification of a licensed land surveyor. So your stamp certifies that, is that the certification that we're looking for? Okay.
And the certification's on the plan.
Right. Yeah, we saw that.
Certification seals and approval block shall have original dates and signatures and legible permanent black ink. Dated, signed. It also has it signed here, but the plat is dated. Good with that.
What's that?
Good with that,
Good with
yeah.
that, okay.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell if you thought you were going to find a problem.
No.
Number 10.
So all text and dimensions shall be legible for reproduction, and the text size shall be no smaller than 80,000ths of an inch for mechanical drafting and 1/8 of an inch for hand drafting. I don't have calipers here, but I'm going to say that it's legible.
I would agree.
Number 11, all plats shall have a scale both as written and geographic representation.
Just graphic. I think it's there. Good.
Number 12, all plats shall have a north arrow with reference to magnetic grid or astronomical north as applicable. The north arrow shall be labeled with its referenced direction.
Yep.
Number 13, shading over any text shall not be permitted on any plat. Cross-hatching or other hatching at a scale large enough not to interfere with text legibility before and after production may be permitted.
I don't see any problems with that.
Number 14, no lines, whether hatching, boundary lines, or topographic contours shall be obstructed or interfere with the legibility either before or after reproduction of any bearings, dimensions, or text.
Good.
Number 15, the minimum line widths on plat shall be no smaller than .01 inches.
Again, don't have calipers, but looks good.
The final plan shall show or be accompanied by the following. Number 1, date, name, and location of site subdivision, name of record owner and developer or subdivider, graphic scale and reference meridian, standard title block.
I think that
Yep.
looks fine.
Number 2, tract boundary lines, right-of-way lines of streets, street names, easements, and other rights-of-way, park areas, or land to be reserved or dedicated to public use. All lot lines and other site lines, water courses with accurate dimensions, bearings, or deflection angles, radii, arcs, and central angles of all curves.
Yep, we covered that before.
Okay. Number 3, proposed lot shall be numbered consecutively as instructed by the engineer in consultation with the town of Brookfield assessor clerk.
So you worked with Jessica? Number,
Yep. And they gave us 1F.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I can also verify that the document that she sent, that she put over here, all verified, see by map.
Good, thank you. Number 4,
Number 4, the purpose of any easement or land reserved or dedicated to public use shall be designated, and the proposed use of sites other than residential shall be noted.
we covered that before.
Okay. Number 5, the identity and location of all abutters to the tract to be developed, divided, showing approximate location of the structures hereon, including access roads.
Covered that as well.
Okay. Number 6, location and description of all monuments.
We covered it, but in different language, it's all there.
Number 7, plans and profiles of water supply wells, storm drains, culverts, catch basins, head walls, and other drainage structures, as well as sanitary sewer septic systems, water, gas, and underground electric layouts showing feasible connections to existing or proposed utility systems shall be required to accompany the final plat or plan.
Yeah, we covered that before.
Number 8, final state of New Hampshire approvals when appropriate from the Department of Public Works and Highways, RSA 236. The Special Board on Dredging and Filling, RSA 149:8-A and RSA 482:4. The Water Supply Pollution Control Commission, RSA 149-E, and the Department of Environmental Services shall be received before a public hearing is scheduled.
I
Don't
assume
think
there
it's
are,
applicable.
yeah, none of those are applicable, I think, right?
Number 9, the shape, size, height, and location of existing structures located on the site and within 200 feet of the site.
Yep, so, height is here, 26 and a half feet, 26 feet.
Good. Number 10, man-made features such as, but not limited to, existing roads and structures indicating which of such features are to be retained and which are to be removed or altered.
So then,
Number 11, architect's rendering of proposed buildings. It is the intent of the planning board to assure that the harmonious and aesthetically pleasing development of the town and its environs so as to be compatible with surrounding properties.
They're not proposing a building.
Number 12, a vicinity sketch no smaller than 1 inch equals 100 feet, showing the location of the site in relation to the surrounding streets and zoning district and boundaries for the site and within 1,000 feet of the site. 100-year flood elevation contour shall be included with the flood plains.
we discussed the vicinity sketch
I
earlier.
think we did, yeah.
Number 13, soils map showing all soil types and delineating any poorly or very poorly drained soils.
So we have a soil map in the back here? Is that
Yeah,
right?
there is one, and basically, it just basically shows one type of soil.
Which one's the soil map?
Oh, actually, no, I put it on the plan, I'm sorry. Look, number 10.
Metacomic? Metacomic?
Yeah, of course, don't you know?
One soil term I learned was podunk. Up in Ospey, they talked about podunk, and they said the word over and over and over. And I'm like, do they not know what podunk really means? Okay, where are we at here? Number 14.
Yeah, 13 is good.
The location, size, direction of travel, if appropriate, curbing, paving, and the radii of all streets, roadways, driveways, access ways, and sidewalks within the site, and its relationship with the off-site street and/or road system.
Good.
Number 15, the size, location, and layout of all on-site parking and loading facilities. Number 16, the location, type, and size of all proposed landscaping and screening, as well as a plan for the retention of existing significant natural features, open spaces, green areas, etc. on the site.
I think we're covered by that. Yeah.
Okay, number 17, the location, type, and design of outdoor lighting.
So there are no lighting changes.
Number 18, the location, size, and design of proposed signage.
No proposed signage.
Number 19, construction details, including but not limited to pavement. Type limited to pavement, walks, steps, curbing, drainage structures, and erosion and sedimentation control techniques.
No proposed construction.
That's 21, page 21.
So since we've reviewed that, does the board have any further questions relating to this proposal for the subdivision?
I'm just double checking that on page 2, it lists which pages they're supposed to clear. I'm just double checking they did 1 through 10, which is what the bylaws. And they did it. To my eye, it looks like they did.
At this point, we'll open any comments or questions from the public.
So just a point of order, when do we need to accept it as complete before we do the public hearing?
It says the last part of the hearing is to vote whether or not we approve.
Right, so that'll be approval, but there's, at some point, we've got to accept that it's complete, right?
Yeah, most towns, it's usually right after, before you go to public hearing.
Okay, so item D here is, the board shall review the application with the list of applications submittal requirements specified by the applicable regulations, to see if it is complete. Official acceptance or rejection shall be by motion and vote. Mr. Chairman, I move that we find that the application is complete. Maybe I'll just stop that period.
Okay.
We did have the 11 by 17 copy of the plat is out of date, but we can talk about that if somebody seconds it.
Discussion?
Yeah, how are we, in the motion, how are we stipulating on the record that we're talking about this specific application?
Okay, what's the name of the application?
I'm just saying, what do we call it?
Oh, that's a,
Yeah, it'd be a good idea to call.
George, do you have an application number or something like that?
File number or something?
I don't have the, at the moment, I'll get it to you in 2 seconds. I'll have to get the files to be able to do that.
There is a project number and a subdivision number.
But that's not our, those aren't our numbers, I don't think, are they?
No, those are.
Those are your numbers, right?
Numbers. Could easily enough say their name, the owner's name.
Well, you can actually, you can use the tax map number too.
Yep.
Okay, so I will withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I'll try again. Mr. Chairman, I move that we find the subdivision application related to tax map 6 lot 1B is complete.
Do I have a second? Discussion?
Yeah, now, how are we, I noticed on here on number 7 on page 20, it says certification of the applicant as the agent. I'm just saying maybe we need to put a note in here to discuss this later. How are we actually certifying for future reference? Well, certification is a specific legal term, so what are we doing to certify?
Mr. Chairman?
George?
Yes, certification is actual signing it, so should the board approve the subdivision, you'll be signing on the documents themselves, on the plats and on the Mylar.
Well, number 7 says certification that the applicant is the agent for the owner or is the owner of the land. So I'm just saying, how are we positively certifying? I don't know what process we're using to certify. Are you looking somewhere? Are you
It's
looking-
sealed. I would say it's sealed.
Okay.
Well, on page 3 of the application, item number 2. Name of applicant / agent, and in parentheses it says, if other than property owner be certain to attach certification and required signatures document, page 5. Page 5 does have the applicant signature.
So for future
And
reference.
it is, and I believe on the original, it's the owner, is that correct?
Yes.
So I think at least in this, I think you're making a point in general, which is that our process maybe could use improvement. But I think in this specific application, I think we have high confidence that the right people are doing the right thing.
No, I meant for future reference to look at this as a board later to make sure we have that clarified. Because I don't know if are we going through the assessor's department? I don't think we have that in our procedures to certify. So that's all I'm saying.
Well,
As is
I
now.
think there are 2 questions, right? Who owns the property, and are the right people being listed as the owner? The second thing is the person that's doing managing the application
The agent.
authorized, is the agent authorized by that owner, right? So Georgia, maybe that's another thing to put on the list.
So I could have sworn we had some other document somewhere in our rules of procedure where we actually had a form that the owner had to sign to certify that that person
Is
was.
that page number 7? Is that what you're looking for?
We have, maybe.
Ah,
Okay.
So, okay, so we're, thank you.
If it was long enough, you find it.
We don't go through this process often enough to be on top of it.
So
So,
it's a certification that requires signatures.
so on page 3, where it references page 5, it probably should be referencing page 7, right?
Right.
We probably added a couple pages over the years and just never updated that.
Well, my comment was in reference to how we should change or alter what our paperwork is, not about the actual application that's before us. So
Duly noted.
I think the motion is seconded, correct?
Yes. Do we want to read the motion again? George, please?
Yes. Vice Chair Rob Collins, may I motion that the planning board find the subdivision tax map 6, lot 1B, as presented is complete.
And,
And the second
Second.
is Steve Bailey.
okay, we had discussion, any further discussion?
Diane looks like she wants to say something.
No, I don't. I'm waiting to say aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So at this point, I believe I can open the hearing to any comments or questions. Comments or questions from the public? And George, we can close the hearing to public comment. Do we have any further information that the applicant or agent would like to provide?
I think you guys have anything to say? I think we pretty much said everything.
And does the board have any further questions or comments for them? And George, we can mark the time to close the hearing.
8:05.
And there aren't any conditions to the approval. We've approved it at this point.
No, we haven't approved it, we've accepted it as
We've
complete.
accepted it.
And I think our process wants to have an updated 11 by 17.
17, that's right.
So I would think that if we do have a motion to approve, that would be one of the, that may be the only condition, but I would say that's at least a condition we
Okay.
would want to put on the conditional approval.
Does the board want to deliberate and discuss it and accept the subdivision based on the 11 by 17?
Are you ready for a motion?
Yes.
Does somebody else want to make a motion for us? No? Okay, I move that we approve the subdivision for tax map 6, lot 1B with, sorry, George, that conditionally approve, where the condition is that an updated 11 by 17 inch copy of the plat be provided.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Rob?
Is it going to be a huge problem for you guys to
Yes,
delay?
If we delay it, it's going to be a real big problem.
Okay.
We were expecting to get signed tonight and hopefully get recorded in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I was under the understanding all we needed was the Mylar and the 4 prints. Because everything else was already submitted before.
I can get out and get that, and maybe update the wrong one.
You can supply it.
Or you can,
So so it's, I think we would like to, and I think you would like us to sign the Mylar tonight. right? Because we're not going to meet for another month.
Right.
And none of us want to get together for a special meeting if we can avoid it.
Right.
So, do we want to consider just approving it without the condition on the approval?
Does anyone feel that this copy, the 11 by 17 of the plat, is a deal breaker? I don't see that as being.
The only difference is the monuments are now set in the heights of the square footage of the buildings, but I can make a mail copy.
So the issue, I think, is that this will fit in our files, right? So a normal person can just look in the file and see it. And so I think we want that to be, we want that to be correct. You know, I guess the question is, do we trust you enough that you'll send it in? And, you know, that we can approve it tonight with the knowledge that we'll, in the next few days, we'll get a copy,
Yes.
you know.
We won't pay him until.
Perfect.
It'll be in tomorrow's mail.
Monetary leverage.
Mr. Chairman, what we could do is just basically put on the next agenda that we're just going to check this to make sure that it comes to us and just consider it done. I think we have the authority to do that.
But we'll have no, I mean, we'll have no leverage, right? As soon as we sign it, it's done. I don't think we need leverage. I mean,
I just want to say one thing, we've done many subdivisions of this property.
Right.
I've been here for 18 years. We haven't really done anything with other properties.
right, so,
Mr. Chairman,
George?
I do want to suggest there may be some leverage in that situation, and it's minute. But that is that you sign a document if the planning board decides, and that we hold the approval document itself that's required to be sent out and then put it in the file only upon the condition being met. So it will still be, can still be signed and can still be with the registry, but there will not be documentation of an approval letter from the planning board itself. So that's a partial, if you will, leverage.
Do we want to go that route?
I'll give my opinion.
Go ahead.
My opinion is I think we're overthinking this. I think put on the agenda that we're going to check to make sure that is going to go in our files, and that's it. I agree. But it's in the minutes that we did this, and it'll be on the agenda, hopefully, if that's what you do. And we'll check it and move on.
Agree with that? Rob, you good with it? Diane?
I'd just like to point out, this is a very simple subdivision, and I think that we ought to just let this come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
good, okay. Mr. Chairman, I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Like, no, sorry, George.
Does he have to remove his, or get rid of his second?
I don't think so.
I've never understood, everyone does that, I've never understood it. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the subdivision for tax map 6, lot 1B.
A second? That's seconded.
Yes.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's the original.
Yeah. George, that's the
Thank you so
original.
much.
This still needs to be updated.
Did we get a Mylar too? Oh, we didn't get a Mylar too? No Mylar too?
Actually, I was told it was being hand delivered, so.
Okay. Is George getting a magic pen?
We're having something here.
This one is on.
I think we just need to sign the Mylar. We want to. George, is that correct? We need to sign the Mylar?
No.
We need to sign all 4 copies as well. so. And that also needs to be right.
That's for the Mylar.
good to go. One year we had, we were gonna sign to Mylar, everybody got talking. And then we left, one guy signed the Mylar, nobody knew about it for about a month. It was a big mess. So we're all set, we can go.
Well, you might want to count the signatures that we put on there.
Well, we don't, that's gonna be, you're gonna do that, George, right?
I'm going to submit this to the registry of deeds, yes.
When can I tell the real estate agents about?
I'm reluctant to give you a time at this moment, okay?
Okay.
What I will try to do, it's going to be very hard for me between now and Monday, but I'll try to do this by Monday the latest, if not tomorrow.
Oh, okay, that's.
No, that's fine. Don't-
I mean, that's,
Thank
if
you.
you said within a week, I would.
Yeah, thank you. It's more than likely within a week, but I'll do my best to try to get it by Monday. You're welcome.
Thank you, George.
Congratulations.
Thank you all. Thank you all for all your time.
Well, yeah, sorry, it's such a tedious process for.
I know.
Well, thank you guys for like, having,
Thank you so much.
having prepared it well. I mean, that was, very good, thank you.
We had a whip.
Now you know people have exposure to subdivisions.
Right on that line where it says members too, right?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Water in here.
Just for the record, that was Dianne Smith.
Water's usually in the fridge.
She just destroyed the fridge trying to find the water.
Was there water in there?
No, just beer.
Just.
Kidding.
Don't joke about beer.
That's a hot subject right now.
There's some ginger beer here, too.
Oh, no, okay.
It's non-alcoholic.
No, I'm good, thank you. I'm an alternate.
You plan on the planning board tonight.
Yeah, I'm still an alternate. You're-
No, you're a member right now.
Sign your life away.
They need the signatures.
How many do they need?
Need you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're sitting on the board, you gotta sign.
You're always on the board. I'm only on it today.
Oh, you're next.
You have to use a special pen.
Oh, for the, my,
Oh, really? Oh, am I really next? You want to boost the seat up? No. No? No what?
Oh,
All right, you want me to sign this one first?
I'm sorry.
You're doing your own.
That's what I did for being so helpful. Embarrassing myself.
Whoops.
Destroyed everything.
Sorry. So what you get for putting me at the big table?
Kind of like removing the eraser pens from the eraser boards at work and putting Sharpies in. It's fun to-
There goes that board.
Yeah.
one was a piece of chalk.
Oh, I remember going out and clapping the erasers. Get excited to do that. Go outside. Meanwhile, breathing all that in.
Wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
Please sit down quietly.
Did your teacher ever have you make the mimeographs from the
Oh, yeah.
mimeograph machine? They used to turn.
I used to love the smell of those when they come out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was like pink, it was like pink,
Yeah.
pink or something. Or blue.
My parents I had them in that in elementary school, but my parents were both teachers. So when I was real little, but my mom would take me to school, or sometimes in this, I would be on 4 or 5, just going nuts on the mimeograph, cranking out her tests.
George, you want to look at these before I roll them up? Just sign them all.
Yes, thank you. Here.
BAH, beer.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you all for that time doing with that. We also have Mr. Greenhall here as well for preliminary conceptual consultation of a proposed subdivision. We're going to get really good at this year.
Good evening, my name is Ryan Greenhalgh. I'm here on behalf of the Greenhalgh Family Trust. I'll try to make this as quick as possible, but basically, as we start this process, I want to make sure we're heading in the right direction. And I actually, it seems like I answered some of the questions from our sitting group tonight. So I brought, again, the list, I don't need to go through the whole list item by item, and a quick sketch of our intent this evening. Looking to, currently it's a 13.47 acre lot, 0.99 acres had been taken out of current use when my parents bought it in, I think, in 2013. That is where the existing house sits now. We're looking to separate off approximately 2 acre lot to separate from the bulk of the current lot. That will leave approximately 10.48 acres in current use. And the question that did come up from the earlier review was if we go through with this subdivision, when we get there, and we pull that land out of, the 2 acres have to be pulled out of current use, or can it be left until we develop it or sell it?
It's long, so I believe that the regulation is that you need at least 10 contiguous acres in order to have something in current use.
Yep.
And that common owners, that the lots can be considered together. So I think that as long as it's the same owner between the multiple lots that are contiguous, you can keep it in current use until you either develop it or sell it. And the new owner then would have less than 10 acres, so they couldn't have it in current use if you just sold it as is.
Okay, well, I guess we can.
And you'd have to work out with them who pays the.
How that works out. It's
But the selectmen will collect their money, don't worry.
one way or another. So we'll assume we're going to leave it in current use for now, and the taxman will tell us differently if we need to. So I guess.
Could you point out where the current buildings are?
Oh, I'm sorry. They're
Roughly.
roughly, you can see where the driveway is called out. So we're approximately right there, there's a barn this way, there's a lower shed down here. The well is located approximately right here. It's 150 feet would be my guess minimum to the proposed lot line from basically the existing tree line. So in everything kind of downhill towards Governor's Road, towards the Governor's Road, Moose Mountain Road corner is what is the usable area. So it's an acre kind of swinging off that driveway there.
Okay. Just be aware that, you need to make sure that, like, the setback, with the new lot, that everything's in the setbacks, or not in setbacks the way they're supposed to be and all that, right? In
Yeah,
terms of where
yeah.
you draw the lines.
Okay, yep. I did point out some of, and as we go through here, you might see some question marks. My father had intended to be here this evening, a last minute meeting in Rollinsford came out for a police station down there he's working on, so, potentially. So he asked me to fill in this evening, so. We went through this, I was able to answer some of these question marks prior to even coming in here. This was what he had on his computer. We have Air Engineering, I believe, has already identified the house, has all the topographical information, has the bulk of the drawings on file, maybe with some minor modifications to address the separation lines for the new lot. This was just kind of for frame of reference. If you're coming down, we can go to, I believe, page 4. Yes, page 4. I was informed, he believed, Moose Mountain Road is a designated scenic roadway, correct? Okay, so I guess then the question he had is the impact that the process.
Well, it notes RSA 231 and
Back there.
115, right? And you should probably go read that.
I'll read it.
But basically with scenic roads, the issues are, there are issues around cutting down trees that are in, and probably messing with stone walls, things like that. If you're not proposing to do any development, my guess is that you'll know, yes, it's a scenic roadway, but I don't think you'll have any issues with that. I don't think.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So.
Yeah, right now, conversationally, looking at putting the process of just physically separating the lots and having that process done and on record. There is a full stone wall around the whole way, so at some point we would have to open up a driveway access at the minimum. But,
And obviously that's allowed,
yeah.
right? Because new houses are being built on scenic roads, right?
It's a
So
pro-
there's
it's
just
just
a
a
process.
process.
There's a process you'll have to follow, whatever that
Okay.
is.
All right.
And if you sell the lot undeveloped, then that's somebody else's problem.
That's somebody else's process. Yeah. Okay. Skip that over to the next page, page 5. He noted a question mark next to subdivision of land. Is that it was his, way he read it was that was what, that's the only line he has to follow under. That it's pretty clear that the rest of them don't necessarily apply. I believe he wasn't sure whether or not the optional pre-application design review applies.
My guess is that you don't want to do that. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
This is not, so just understand that this process is cumbersome for a project like yours, because this also covers a project where somebody's going to take 200 acres and put in 30 homes and roads.
Handful of roads
and all the
and
other
the whole
stuff.
process.
So I think that you need to fill in, you need to pay for the subdivision of land,
Okay.
notification fees, reporting fees, and conditional use.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, not conditional use, but that would be for the rec zone,
Yeah, notification, recording fees, and subdivision.
Reporting fees. The no, see the notification, oh, okay, complete below, that's right, okay. Okay. And I guess that was part of why I'm here tonight, basically, is this is, as you said, rather simple subdivision in, comparison to what potentially could be. We were kind of hoping to trim this down before expending the dollars to have a lot of these new needs met. My understanding, if jump into the next page, is that this doesn't apply to us?
I think you would not, yeah, we would, we would tell you if there were additional costs, and I don't think there will be.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, the question of applicant, owner, agent. I know the owner being the Greenhouse Family Rural Trust, as give the formality of this process, I don't even want you to write on the first shot. The agent being either Jeff or myself, that would be coming in. Applicant, would that again be Greenhouse Family Trust, or
You say it was ever on the deed.
or the trustee, or it's the trust, and we'd have to designate an individual as the trustee, possibly?
I would think the trust has one or more trustees already designated.
Correct, or I'd rather indicate a trustee on here than the, okay.
Yeah, I would put the trustee as the applicant.
So I think somebody needs to be able to look at this and
Mhm.
say, yeah, that trust owns that, right? You wouldn't want to just have somebody's name there.
There, yeah.
Right, if it's owned by a trust,
Mhm.
right? So we need the trust name there, but we also need to know the person
The physical.
the person who is authorizing that, and that should be one of the trustees, one or
The
even all the
trustees.
trustees.
And then if somebody that is not a trustee is here applying,
Then that would be agent.
then you fill out agent.
Right.
Great.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Perfect. The abutter notification, that's pretty clear, we already have that all listed. He has question marks at the top, I know we have to, he got a little ambitious with them, it identifies where I need to go for all that information. Down below, the one question I did have about the top was address of subdivision site. The current site as it sits is 3 Moose Mountain Lane, Moose Mountain Road, I'm sorry. Does that have to be, do I also need to make it to get the address of the new lot, or 3?
There's no new lot until we approve it. So at the time of the application.
Yeah,
there's only one lot.
that was a variable, I just want to make sure, okay. Existing, we'll quantify, so we're going to quantify all the house, the barn, the shed, et cetera. Proposed bar, the existing septic, existing well will be quantified, and the driveway. I guess that skips me over, I take away some of his NAs there. Skipping over to the next page. We're looking at number 20 is not necessarily applicable at this time.
Correct. Yeah, you're not building roads.
Okay.
Right.
20, 21, we don't necessarily have to propose a driveway at this point, I guess. So we're hoping to waive that.
But you should, the existing driveways should be.
The existing, oh, okay,
should be listed.
quantify that.
Right,
So
so-
make sure that the existing is quantified.
And if you're not proposing a driveway, then it's not applicable, right? You don't need to waive anything, right?
Perfect. Coming down, other information, we're proposing to waive the bulk of that.
Yeah, none of that's applicable.
Probably not applicable, rather than having to ask for a waiver.
Okay.
So, but we would want to know that basically, it would, like on the previous application, I don't know if you had a copy of it, but they left those blank. it would be
Oh, I
better,
see that.
it would be better for us if they'd stated not applicable.
NA, you don't have to
Right,
go
so
through the
right, so-
formality of a vote.
Well, leaving things blank, I mean, we don't know whether
Mm-hmm.
somebody just didn't fill it in, or whether they're saying that it's not applicable. It's much better to put in something that says none, or not applicable, or something, so that
Reason why it's waived.
we have some positive
Perfect.
information as opposed to just blank.
Okay. And then that reaches the end of my packet, and I guess that was the hope. I know their application did include the extra couple pages there, but as you noted after review, that's on page 2, it's between page 1 and 10, so I just want everybody comfortable with that.
Right, so, man? Yes. So I'd like to, so your proposal to be slightly different than the one you just sat through. Because they're, the new lot, the small lot they were creating is where the house was.
Yeah.
And so they, they had to show us that, convince us that the larger lot was still a buildable lot. And on page 4 of 55 of our zoning regulations,
Okay.
I'd suggest you go and look at that. Because and it's not because we like them better than you, it's because your new lot is small, right?
Yes.
Smaller, right?
Mhm.
And so we're gonna go through this list of building lot requirements, I'm assuming that we will, the list of building lot requirements, and make sure that you've convinced us that the new lot is buildable, right?
Okay.
Our job here is to make sure that the regulations are followed, but primarily it's to make sure that no non-buildable lots get created. So just make sure that you've got the evidence for this, and your surveyor will understand this, and he'll, got to show us that there's a 40,000 contiguous feet of buildable space, right, or whatever, right? So,
Okay. So if we go, we'll go through that, we can,
and George,
figure out a good way to manage that.
so this is online
Mhm.
on our website, or George can point you to it, or give you a copy of the relevant pages or whatever, but,
Yeah, I was actually had it open on my phone, and I was
Okay.
playing around
okay.
through the website today, so. No, that's great, I'll go through it, we'll handle that. And just a thought I was gonna do, so going through these last 2 pages of questions, I was just gonna add on to the line anywhere where there's a direct reference, where there's a question here, I'll call it out on drawing C, C0.1 to kind of simplify the flow for you guys as well, so hopefully show wet drawing or commentary that it
Yeah.
is listed.
Anything you can do like that,
Yeah,
that's
makes it easier for us.
Yeah, that'd
Okay.
be helpful.
Yeah.
So,
Sure thing.
Appreciate it.
All right.
and I would suggest that you look at our second checklist that we went through, right? That, make sure that you've covered all of those things as well,
Okay.
that are applicable.
Okay. I think I skimmed it, Christmas, it was a fun Christmas Day activity. We were talking about this, it was like, whoa. Okay, but, I'll pull it up again and make sure it doesn't. And we have our ducks in a row.
There will be some question relating to the plat that's filed with the Carroll County deeds.
Okay?
I would say that the size that we have in our subdivision regs is incorrect. We're actually going to be addressing that in a future meeting, but we're going to go with the requirement of the Carroll County deeds for the size of the actual plat itself.
Okay.
And I don't remember what that was off the top of my head, we just looked at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just if that question comes up with the surveyor, he looks at what we have for our subdivision regs.
Okay.
Carroll County calls out a different size, so go with Carroll County size, because that's what they need for their filing purposes.
Perfect. Okay. We can do that, and then there's no reference of it anywhere. Is there any requirement for any electronic submission at all? I didn't see it when skimming what was handed to me, but.
No.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Well, those are the questions that I had this evening, sir. Again, thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Seeing you soon.
You're welcome to stay.
We don't kick you out.
Gotta get the dog, you know. Okay, oh, perfect.
See you.
Thank you very
Watch it
much.
all over again.
Yeah, so
In case you gotta reference something.
I'm gonna make him. He's gotta stay in the loop.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are done with the visitors and public hearing today, and we can move on to review and possible approval of the June 15th, 2017 minutes. Everybody have a copy?
George, you ready for some suggested changes?
Yes.
Under roll call, members present, Dianne Smith, I think, is an alternate. Is that right?
Yeah, I missed it. Thank you.
At the very bottom of page 2, under D, state is typoed.
Statements?
State legislation states does not have a T.
I have one question. Under member comments, Rick Charette pointed out that town residents need to be aware that the ZBA can only consider a waiver of zoning regulations after presenting a request for approval to the planning board. I think that, and he fortunately is here, so he can correct me if I'm wrong, I thought Rick had suggested that that things would be better if that were true, but that's not currently true.
That's correct.
So, Rick, can you maybe suggest a wording change so it'll reflect what you were intending to say?
That the town needs to be aware that there are no procedures to access the ZBA.
Anyone can just go straight to the ZBA,
Right.
and you don't like that?
No, I don't like that.
How would you word that, George?
I would think I would just remove the rest of the sentence. So, Selectman Rick Charette pointed out that town residents have no procedure to access the ZBA.
Need to be aware that they're,
Okay, need to be aware that there is no procedure to access the ZBA.
yep.
Well,
Those
that's
are
not
the
correct.
right.
No.
You just apply to the ZBA.
Right.
There's no formal procedure to do it. that they-
Yeah, I think there is, and it's spelled out in our zoning ordinance, but I think what Rick's point is that Rick is pointing out that he sees a problem that somebody who wants a variance doesn't come to us first. I think what Rick would like to see is a process by which if somebody wanted a variance, they have to come to the planning board. The planning board has to say no, and then they go to the ZBA appealing it or something. I'm not sure what the proposal is, but
Exactly right. The proposal is that now people go to the ZBA, and the ZBA has no paper trail or no record or history of anything going on with this that the planning board would supply. So they're looking at proposals through the ZBA that had no input from anybody.
I gotcha. Good.
So what you mean is that if the planning board had an application that would make the applicant come to the planning board first, which we don't have that now,
Right.
and then we would decide to forward it to the ZBA. You're saying there's no process to do that?
There's no
People just
process.
go right to the ZBA?
Or perhaps the process would be they come to us, and then we, when it goes to the ZBA, we can't stop them from going to the ZBA, or say they can. But we maybe be able to set up the process so that we at least get to weigh in on it and have a thumbs up, this is recommended by the planning board or not recommended by the planning board, or something, right?
Right,
Your issue is
so-
nobody else has looked at it, and they're,
Exactly right. Nobody else has looked at it. And things are happening in town that the planning board is completely unaware of, or the land use board. And things are going on and we've never even seen it. We're having no input, we're not doing our job. Because we're circumventing, just go right around us. Why are we here?
So I get the intent of your comment, I'm just wondering what's the best way to word it. So there's no procedure currently for involving the planning board in decisions that need to be made by the ZBA?
There's no process.
So that's what we want to make residents aware of.
Right.
So you get the intent of that?
If I may, Mr.
Go ahead,
Chairman.
George.
Something to the effect that it would be better if there was a procedure for involving the planning board before submissions presented to the ZBA.
That's the intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put in-
Is everybody complete with any changes to the minutes?
Are you still looking for something, Ron?
no, I'm just reading about the ZBA. Well, that, or as I said.
Would you entertain a motion?
Yes.
I move to accept the Thursday, June 15th, 2017 minutes as presented, as corrected, as with any additions.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? George, motion carries. So in the interest of time, the two presentations that we had earlier today went a little bit longer than we had planned. So what we're going to do is, for old business, we had discussion of amending the zoning ordinance regarding solar panels as well as cell towers and wind energy. And the reason why we have that on there is just so it doesn't lose sight, something that we still want to discuss in the future. We had all talked about the potential for a lot of what the town would want regarding solar panels, cell towers, wind energy, might come out of the review of the master plan. So we had also discussed item C, which is consideration of the survey questions for amending the master plan. George had provided a list previously of some of the survey questions. George, did you get a chance to email that list?
I did not, because we handed out the physical copy after we stated that, so I assume that that was so much what you really wanted, that wasn't something I thought. I apologize.
Okay.
You did hand out a copy.
You did?
Yes.
Yeah, last meeting. So the question I have is, have people had a chance to review some of those questions? This is the copy here. It was dated December 11th, 2000. Has anyone had a chance to review these questions on the questionnaire and put any of their feedback relating to these questions and any additions? Is this something that we want to do at next meeting, is to actually spend time together reviewing these and maybe coming up with some wording? I think that's probably the most efficient way to come up with some of the questions. But that's my opinion, so.
You should order us an action item.
Okay, action item before next month's meeting is to review the questions, the questionnaire from the master plan survey from December 11, 2000 that George provided at the last meeting. George, if you could also email a copy to ensure that all the board members have a copy. Some of us might have started a wood stove with a copy. If you could just email that out so that everybody is sure to have a copy. And review the questions and notations as well, and any other questions you might feel would be pertinent to the master plan development. And we can discuss it at the next meeting. And next meeting is August 17th. Did you find anything good in there?
Maybe.
Okay. So that should cover old business. Any public comments? Member comments?
So I think if related to the ZBA
Okay.
discussion that Rick had brought up as a member comment last month, it's my understanding that, well, ZBA can do two things. One is a variance and one is a special exception. Special exceptions are on non-conforming lots. For a variance, I believe that requires an administrative decision having been made by somebody, and that you know, you appeal to the ZBA. And so I think that in the case of like a conforming lot, certainly, if there's somebody's going for a variance, it's because the building inspector said they couldn't do something, you know, wouldn't give them a building permit or something, right? And so they're appealing Eddie's decision to not let them build within the setbacks or something, right? So if it's not our purview to be reviewing that, I'm not sure how we can get involved in those cases.
I brought it up, so I'll find out. I recall an attorney over in Concord that they said that the planning department, the building department, mainly the planning department, has to build a case for the ZBA to review. They need something to go by. And just Eddie saying, no, you're not getting a building permit, where's the land use involvement there?
I don't disagree. I think
they're
that
acting, they're circumventing what we're here for. And last year at Concord, the fellow from Bedford, he was sitting with us. He said, nobody goes to the ZBA without going to the planning board first. Now, why is that? They doing something that we're not doing? They're doing something that the classes that we took said has to be done. And we're not doing it.
Well, if you can find out what it is, then we can start doing it.
That's what I want to find out, so we can look at that information, kind of put together a model to make a better planning board and a better ZBA for our small town.
I think right now, with the recent cases that have gone to the ZBA, there's been no advocate for the zoning ordinance. Not sure that there should be, but, I mean, basically, nobody's there arguing that the ordinance is there for a reason, and, you know, the spirit of why some of those regulations are there, so. But, I mean, I've also heard from here in town that maybe we should, the fact that everyone keeps, people keep going to the ZBA to, you know, be able to build closer to lot lines than our zoning allows. Maybe that's an indication that our setbacks are too big. So.
Ed?
So, Member Collins, you mentioned that somebody has to make an administrative decision which triggers them to go to the ZBA. And you're saying that person would be the building code inspector. So all we would have to do is just, or do we have the authority to create a process that has the building inspector trigger them coming through us first?
I don't know, I mean, somebody
Right now,
has to figure out what the RSAs allow us to do. I mean, ZBA is created by the RSAs and it guides their work, and I don't,
That sounds like something I should.
I mean, so, you know, you might be able to get your question answered through legislative services or something like that.
Well, currently, the town has an elected land use board. They have a hired or appointed building inspector, and they have an appointed ZBA. And they're making all the calls. What are we doing here? What are the people like us for? That's why there's nobody here in our meetings. So we're completely irrelevant.
So you're saying the selectmen have too much power because they can,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the planning board is irrelevant at this point. Our land use board is not doing anything for the town of Brookfield as far as land use goes, because wherever we see unneeded, we just have these appointed people making decisions, and they just won't go right around us. What are we here for?
Mr. Chairman, I'll take on that action item to not only research it myself, but also go to the Legislative Research Department down in Concord and see what they can find out through OEP and get a good, clear answer. Obviously, some towns are doing it different, so.
right?
This comes from OEP.
That we should have a process.
That's right.
That's what I mean, so when I research it and they give me the meat of the answer, then we can formulate a change of how we're doing things.
Well, it was a couple of years ago, but I took those ZBA classes, and I was listening to what they were saying. We weren't following any of it.
That's important. to answer.
We as a planning board are not supporting the ZBA and giving them anything to go by, because applicants don't have to come through the planning boards. Well, these guys do whatever they want.
Diane?
I think that, well, before Ed made his comment about legislative services, I was going to suggest that we've had very good luck, or I have at any rate, with getting information from OEP. And you got some great information that was presented last meeting from them. It came through legislative service, but it was really OEP. The other resource that I have found useful in the past is New Hampshire Municipal Association as well. So just, Googling that or looking through their websites, I think will be very helpful as well. I had another thought and it just went out of my head, sorry. So,
That happens to you too?
yeah.
Yes. Happens to us
Sorry,
all.
it's after 8:30.
We're one year plug.
What RSA were you looking at really for ZBA, just so I can?
674:33.
Thank you. Rob, you have something?
I guess two things. One is that the RSA gives a list of 5 criteria which are reflected in our zoning as well, that the ZBA is supposed to be applying to variances. And I think you could argue that maybe they're not doing the best job of that, right? They're not being real strict on that. And my second comment is that anybody with standing can appeal a ruling by the ZBA to court. So if you, as an interested party, if you happen to be in a butter and you don't like the decision, you can appeal it. I'd be willing to bet that the town, the selectmen could appeal it. Be a little weird since you guys, in theory, control who's on that board, but you may not like a decision they made, you may want to appeal it. Probably not just anybody in town that just doesn't like that somebody got something special can appeal it, but you have to actually be affected by it. And even as a selectman, you might, or as the town, you might have trouble establishing standing. But certainly as a butter, because one of the criteria is that it doesn't lower, the neighboring property values, right? And I don't know if any of these recent cases, any abutters have gone and said, hey, that solar panel or whatever the project is going to lower my property values. But, if somebody tried to convince the ZBA that it was going to lower property values, I think the ZBA would have to take that seriously and weigh whether or not they believe that that was true. But if nobody argues that it is going to lower property values, then what can you do?
Also, another thing in the ZBA, there's 2 ways that they come to a decision. One of the ways is cut and dry majority rules, and the other way allows the minority to make the decision. And I want to make sure that our ZBA uses the process that does not allow a minority to make decisions.
So I'm a little confused by that. Could you explain a little bit more?
No, I can't. It's probably in there.
George?
Just a quick comment, I apologize. One way to possibly get around this is to propose an amendment to the zoning ordinance. The public votes on it, and it goes up or down. And if it does, there's nothing that anybody else in the state can say about it as long as it's within the purview of the planning board. It's just a comment.
It's just worth looking at.
I don't understand. So you're,
Can the ZBA have a decision process where the minority makes the decision? Does that sound good?
I don't understand. I could use a few more words explaining how that works, or an example.
Not the minority part.
Yeah, can you give an example, or a hypothetical example?
No,
Why not?
because it's, I can't do that at this moment, I'm not prepared for it.
Ed?
See, this is a very good example of, this could be a legislative fix. If we find out that the RSAs aren't very clear about how to process this, because apparently everybody's doing it slightly different, this is when, as a board, we can come up with language to fix the RSA and actually submit that in September. And then change this for the whole state. So everybody's doing it the same way.
Diane?
Actually, I remembered now. Thank you, Ed. What I forgot a few minutes ago, and that is scalability. When I, in the recent past, was looking at different communities across New Hampshire, there are notable differences depending on the size of the community, that help direct how the management or the activities within the community are handled. And I think this is a good example. Now, you mentioned Bedford as some people that were at your table. I think you said Bedford.
It was,
That's a very large community compared to Brookfield, so things might work a little differently.
Oh, it
But
used to
I'm
be a
not,
small
I'm not
community, and they've done
discounting,
very
I'm not
well.
discounting the fact that this needs to be addressed. I just think that, having a broad brush approach that puts the same requirement on every community might not necessarily be the right approach, but at least have it that there's perhaps more opportunities for conversation or checks and balances or whatever it may be. But I just wanted to point out the scalability might be an issue as well in terms of the size of the community.
So we'll look into it. It's gonna take it as an action item.
I will too.
And you're gonna, okay. Ed?
It's not on the agenda anymore, but the sections in the RSAs that affected the land use by legislation. This was very difficult this year because there were so many tiny changes to each RSA that trying to do a before and after snapshot of what that was virtually impossible. So what I started to do, it didn't start, finished, is I have, in this book, I have all the legislation, the actual bills, the Senate bills and the House bills that made the changes. They're the final RSA that were put into the book. I have annotated which change it is, which RSA that it changes, and then it very clearly, when you look at each one, shows what the changes are. Now, we should, at some future meeting, it should have happened in the earlier part of the year, but we should just, as a board, review, because I find it easier to review the legislation than I did actually reviewing the book. And this would at least give us an idea of all the changes that occurred in 2016. So that's what I have here. How you want to go about doing this, I'm not quite sure. I suppose I could forward this to George and he can make it a one PDF file representation of all the legislative changes and then send it out to everybody so we could look at it at some future meeting. But there are some good things in here. The changes for SB 146, which is the accessory dwelling unit, is in here. You also have a lot of 91A changes that occurred that are in here that we should be aware of. And there were only two enacting legislations or bills that actually created something new, which we should be aware of. And 91A.
Did you annotate that, what the new ones are?
Did I annotate?
Did you write on which ones are new?
Yeah, it says enacting. It says enacting. So I just have what shows in the book as what legislation affected which ones. And there really isn't that much. For instance, HB 159 seems to have covered a lot of small changes throughout the entire document, our land use board.
George, is that something you could get from Ed and scan into a PDF?
Yes.
And email it?
And just so we have it as one complete,
Right.
it was just easier to do it this way than to deal with before and after snapshot. That was ridiculous.
Thanks for working on it.
It's an eye-opener reading those changes. But like I said, any changes that we need, this is the time to talk about it and then create legislation and then submit it. So just the idea about the ZBA and scalability, that could most likely, OEP, where our land use is prescriptive law from the state. So, we can make things, I think, more restrictive, not less. But changes like that better define the relationship between the elected land use board and its ZBA appointed, looks like it needs some type of definition. So,
Any other further member comments? Diane?
I had the, I think probably, I was going to say had the opportunity, I think many of us probably had the opportunity, but I went to the rollout of the Moose Mountain Regional Greenways Regional Conservation Plan. You may recall within the past year, they made a presentation about what they were going to be working on. They had that at the, in Wolfboro Tuesday night, and I have to say I was extremely impressed by the level of data and the amount of work that went into that. The mapping effort was just, I think, really extraordinary, that in all the layers and resources that they brought to bear. And the reason I bring it up is that it's very, I think that it may or may not, but I think that it may be helpful in reviewing that as we move forward on the master plan. Not that we need to buy into their regional conservation plan, but using the maps and the data and the information that they have available through that plan as it relates to Brookfield, I think is very helpful. They had, I mean, just anything that can be mapped and things that I didn't even realize were mapped were part of this mix. And I was just really blown away by the wealth of data that is available through them. And so I just wanted to make sure that you folks knew that has come out. Actually, it's almost complete. They noted that they're putting the final touches on the report, but this was, in essence, most of the work has been done. They're just packaging it out now. Really impressed.
Will that be available online? You know?
I believe so. I was in their invitation to attend the function. They included a PDF of the map. And I'm like, oh, it was even at that scale, you know, in blowing it up on the computer. Actually, there were a few minor errors in Brookfield that I picked up, and I'll let them know, but that was part of the reason that they brought it out, for people to take a look at it, because it was just incredible, the amount of information that they had going into that. I'm amazed that they did it in the period of time that they did it, frankly.
Excellent. Ed?
I just thought of something. If the state requires or mandates us to create a master plan, does it state that we can use any maps, or do they have to be a specific type of map that's been certified to state standards or something to be used in our master plan documents? I'm just putting that out there. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Because I know in Ossipee they had a similar issue with Green Mountain Conservation. They had brought maps in and offered information, and their planning board said, well, the state doesn't recognize those maps, or it doesn't use that type of data. It has to be some type of a certified map data or something, some data set. There was some specific thing, but you can't just use any map. For, you know what I'm saying? It has to be a specific type, and I don't know if those maps are certified to be used in our master plan as actual information that can be used.
I think you could use anything that you want, unless you represent that it's state approved. I mean, but they had soils, water resources, groundwater supplies. In fact, they pointed out the aquifer that is in Brookfield that serves Wakefield. That was mentioned a couple of times in talking about soils. And these are not things that were created by Moose Mountain Regional Greenway. They were acquired from other resources, primarily, not primarily, but largely public resources. But what was, so the base information shouldn't be suspect. Interpretations, of course, and how you then use that is always subjective. But I think the base information certainly shouldn't as long as we know where it came from and it's a reasonably reliable source, I don't see why we couldn't use it in Brookfield to create our own master plan.
Can I assign you an action item to see if there's anything regulating?
Sorry, I mentioned that.
See if there's anything regulating what types of maps we're allowed to use.
Certainly, I can do that for you, yes.
Thank you.
And that's why I mentioned, sorry, that's why I mentioned about that's when I first heard the term podunk actually was a soil type, or a podunk variant. And that's where it started up in Ossipee. They were doing their, I think it was a site plan review, and they brought in documents that were not official state documents to make their case. So I was just wondering if, you know, 'cause if they have compiled all that information, then, you know, that would be great if we could use it. I just want to make sure we don't put in our master plan something that's not official. That's all.
Thank you, Diane. Any other further member comments? Meeting adjourned. And we did go over, George. I was watching the clock.
Okay. I know you did, so that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah. You started a little late, too. Thank you, everybody.